right, so you think we're good to go? Should we wait another minute or so, just to make sure we got everybody?
You're all good.
All right, well, hello, my name is Hawk Selikors, and I am the Dell Technologies National Partner Manager for CDW, and I would like to thank you all for joining us today for the PowerStore Gin Tasting event. So what is PowerStore? Well, PowerStore is a next generation storage product that provides customers with unprecedented business flexibility and agility. PowerStore was designed from the ground up to transform your IT infrastructure and provide you with a competitive edge. Today, we are very lucky to have Jody Hoagland, who is the PowerStore Global Technology Evangelist, and who will explain why PowerStore is a verified game changer for your business. Jody, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Good to be here, my friend. Good to see you.
Awesome. So you can take it away when you're ready, Jody.
All right. Let's see. Pay no attention to the chaos. That was my last meeting. Let's see here. We'll kick off and get started with a quick introduction and then get to the fun stuff. I know everybody's looking forward to a great mixology event. And while you're prepping to mix some beverages, let's mix in a little storage conversation. So as Hawk said, my name's Jody Hoagland. I'm the lead global technical evangelist for Dell EMC PowerStore. So this is a next generation storage architecture, just to kind of let you know from an executive vision perspective. So if we're talking to like Michael Dell, who is very high on PowerStore, his strategy and vision is that we have our PowerMax platform, which plays in the mission critical tier 0 space. And then PowerStore plays in a wide range of capabilities from mission critical tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and even in some cases, tier 4 capabilities. So PowerStore has a very broad reach and can address a very wide array of enterprise applications down to file capabilities, and in some cases, deep archival type storage. So this is a unified architecture platform. It's a next generation platform that's literally built on containers and container capabilities that's completely integrated into the operating environment with crazy simplicity and ease of use. So when we look at this, as I mentioned, this is a unified architecture. So by unified, we mean that in the truest sense, that we can support your traditional block workloads, fiber channel, iSCSI type deployment methodologies, while simultaneously supporting file protocols, NFS, SMB, and simultaneously next generation connectivity with NVMe over Fabric, both for fiber channel and recently announced, we're just weeks away from the ability to do NVMe over TCP. So that is going to be a game changer for Ethernet connected environments. If you're leveraging iSCSI or know someone that's using iSCSI today, they will be making a very easy, seamless transition in the future to NVMe over TCP. And Dell Technologies and PowerStore will be supporting that, right? So it's a very cool capability. This unified architecture gives us the ability, again, to reach a broad landscape of applications and application types, all consolidated into a single platform and single ecosystem of storage. Now, a bit of an ice cream truck here is what I call it. This is all the flavors. Now, not to be deep diving and confused by gigahertz and gigabytes and metrics and ports and scalability, but I just want you to note the elegance in the design here. This is all the flavors, the 1000, the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9. But note the only difference is up here at the top. Everything down here for every single one of these models is the same. So really the only decision that we have to make in a PowerStore configuration is how fast do you want to go, right? So that's really kind of it. Do we go a little slower with the 1000, or do we go really crazy fast with a 9000, right? That's the decision that we have to make as a team and bringing those capabilities to you. Now, as we kind of build on this, this is realistically starts in a 2-rack unit form factor. So very small, dense capabilities in 2-rack units. And by the way, feel free to use the chat. If you want to interrupt, ask a question, if you want to throw a question in chat, I'm always game. for a good play of Stump the Chump. So if there's something that you want to throw out that you've got a question about, feel free. And Hawk can help me monitor that. And if something comes in, interrupt me, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer. So inside of this 2-rack unit platform, which was the 1,000 all the way to the 9,000. So that ice cream truck, they're all the same. They're all identical in profile. So we can have up to 21 of these high performance flash modules. Of those 21 devices, we can mix and match drive sizes and types. You could start with 3s and start adding 15s, or start with 7s and add a 15. It doesn't matter to us. The minimum configuration is 6 flash modules. And if we go with the largest, which is the 15 terabyte device, at 21 of those 15 terabyte devices, we guarantee 4-to-1 data reduction. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But that's going to net you out. You're talking about just shy of 1 petabyte of effective capacity in a 2-rack unit profile, right? So you can pack a ton of capacity in a very small footprint. And not only can we start small, you can start with as few as 6 devices, so a really cost-effective, scalable configuration. You can also grow in single drive increments. You can go to 7, 8, 9, 10. You can do this all the way up to 96 drives in single drive increments, mixing and matching drive sizes. And oh, by the way, only player in the industry that has a fully integrated storage class memory capability for every single model of PowerStore. So if you want to take a look at those next generation of flash module technologies, PowerStore can support that type of capability today. Now, that 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee, the terms and conditions here are pretty simple and pretty straightforward. There's basically 2 aspects to this. Number 1, no pre-encrypted data. Number 2, no pre-compressed data. So as long as we're not dealing with, something that's already pre-encrypted or already pre-compressed, then we're going to stand behind our 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee. We're also integrating Intel's Quick Assist technology, or what is called QAT. Now, that Quick Assist technology is actual hardware. This is actually an Intel Lewisburg chip that's embedded on each of the nodes or each of the controllers. This completely offloads the compression aspect of data reduction, meaning that we get to do inline deduplication and inline compression without the performance overhead for that heavy lift required for compression. So we get really, really good data reduction and really, really, really good performance. We don't have to compromise one way or the other. So we're standing behind this industry-leading capability of data reduction across the landscape of the portfolio. Also, PowerStore can scale from a clustering perspective. So you saw the ability to do these single drive additions and scale up, or we can just start adding drives to an individual, what we call an appliance, right? So that individual 1,000 or individual 5,000. If we take a little bit different look at this, we can cluster PowerStores. This would be, for example, appliance A, appliance B, appliance C, and appliance D. We could have all of these coexisting in a cluster and have the ability to manage them from the exact same interface, right? So we can actually log into a single instance of PowerStore Manager or the GUI, and you can manage all of this from a single pane of glass. This gives us the ability to do things like volume mobility. We can move a volume non-disruptively from one appliance to another appliance. We can grow the cluster dynamically. We can add new appliances into the cluster without any downtime whatsoever. We can remove appliances. We could evacuate an appliance from a cluster and send it to another site or start a new cluster with that particular appliance. We can also do things like simplified data management, where let's say, for example, you wanted to quickly create 100 volumes. You could literally in the interface say, I want to create 100 volumes and I want them to be named, 123-A, and then he's going to name them automatically. And he's also going to distribute those 100 volumes across the cluster in the best place possible, leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we've built a lot of capability into PowerStore. This non-disruptive mobility gives you a couple of things. One, you can redistribute load or balance load throughout the cluster, leveraging recommendations. You can also do things like,
tier performance and move a workload to get higher performance, or move a workload off higher performance to archive into lower performance capabilities. So there are all kind of dynamics associated with the cluster. And by the way, this is just a native capability. Very integrated, very simplified, very straightforward, and non-complex at all. This is also very intelligent from an internal perspective as far as programmability. So when we talk about being able to program against an array or tell an array to do something, you've got that level of integration. If you want to leverage vRealize automation and orchestration from VMware, fully supported. If you're going down the road of container-based deployment methodologies and Kubernetes clusters, fully supported. If you want to do workflow automation with a tool like Ansible, fully supported. If you want to do RESTful API programming and drop in REST commands into a third-party automator like ServiceNow or something like that, fully supported. If you're a really smart cat, want to do shell scripting, fully supported, fully open CLI, Python SDK, PowerShell SDK, however it is that you could possibly want to program against PowerStore, you can do it. It's a very open platform with very open management capabilities and tools. But it's smart. It's very smart from an internal perspective. Again, we could start with that single appliance and add a second appliance to the cluster in literally a matter of minutes. Adding a second appliance to the cluster is seriously like a 20-minute process, right? So we can actually plug the power in, plug it into the network, and once power and network is applied, we can do an auto discovery of that new appliance, automatically assign IP addresses, automatically configure the appliance, automatically provision the storage pool, bring it online in about 20 minutes of time. We can also, we're doing real-time assessment of the cluster. So we're looking at all of the workloads going on at any given time. Meaning in this case, let's say, for example, this little graphic that just flew by, you're actually filling up a volume, and this would be appliance B in a cluster, right? So our cluster looks something like this again. So maybe we're filling up this volume and we give you an alert. We say, hey, you're at 85%. That's going to generate an alert on the system and you're getting full. We're going to give you a little dialog box that says, hey, you need to take some action. You might just want to dynamically grow that volume, which that's 100% supported. But what if you don't have any more physical capacity? You say, man, what do I do now? I need to move this volume from appliance B to another appliance in the cluster. There's actually an option here. And by the way, we'll actually tell you how many days you have left before you fill this up. So not only are you at 85% full, but hey, Jody, you've got 8 days before this thing fills up and goes offline. We literally tell you that level of information and that level of detail, and then allow you to make strategic decisions. Just by the click of a button here, a click of a link, we can then non-disruptively pick that volume up, move it to another appliance in the cluster that we know can handle that workload for you, right? So that's a completely autonomous process just by clicking a button, and it'll happen behind the scenes for you. You can always go manually move workloads around, and that's like 3 clicks to do. So if you want to save yourself a couple of clicks, you can do this one-click method based on the machine learning recommendation. And again, we can move workloads anywhere within the cluster. But by the way, we always require administrative approval. We never move anything without the administrator saying, yes, that's what I want to do. And therefore, we go ahead and execute. Also, full integration with Cloud IQ. I can't say enough about Cloud IQ. I don't think that this gets enough industry recognition. We support this across all of our primary storage portfolio. We also support this with RHEL clusters and recent announcements around PowerEdge server technology as well. Now, some of the interesting things when it comes to storage is cybersecurity capabilities. We have built in cybersecurity capabilities for PowerStore. And what this allows you to do, and by the way, Cloud IQ is a no-cost tool that comes with a support contract. So as long as you have a valid support contract, you have full unfettered access to Cloud IQ. Now, the cybersecurity side of this will notify you in real time of any known security vulnerability. So for example, we're skimming the NIST database, or we're looking at common CVEs or known variations or vulnerabilities that are out there in the industry. And we're also looking at your configuration within a PowerStore perspective. And we can tell you, hey, do you have something turned on, or is something not disabled? that might be a red flag from a vulnerability. We notify you in real time. You can go take that corrective action. Not only that, we can also do things like in real time anomaly detection. So let's say, for example, an attacker does get into your ecosystem and apply some form of ransomware and things start encrypting. When you start encrypting a workload, the variable changes of the growth pattern and the IO pattern. Cloud IQ can detect that growth anomaly. We can detect that anomaly and say, hey, this volume is growing out of character. Something has changed. As a result, you can go in and look and say, oh my goodness, things are getting encrypted, or I've been hit with some form of ransomware. All PowerStore snapshots are 100% immutable, read-only, and non-manipulatable, giving you the ability to instantly recover and go back to a known point of good condition. So that is something that comes with Cloud IQ and is a built-in capability. We can also detect performance anomalies as well, which is really cool. If you've got developers that tend to push things out or things could change in the environment, you can get instant notification that, hey, something just drastically changed from a performance perspective based on our understanding of your pre-existing workload. And this is all happening in real time through the phone home capabilities of the array. Now, think back to the ice cream truck. We're going to bring this ship home and quickly get to some gin tasting for you, right? So as we talk about deployment methodologies with PowerStore, think back to that ice cream truck, 1,000 through the 9,000. There's two key deployment methods for PowerStore. Number one is the traditional methodology, or what we call PowerStore T. PowerStore T, the traditional way of doing things, we're going to load up PowerStore OS directly on bare metal, right on the controllers on the storage array. This is the traditional way of doing things, but you're getting all of these new features and new capabilities. But then there's this thing that the world has never seen before, and this is what we call PowerStore X. PowerStore X is something that we created where we literally now, instead of installing PowerStore on bare metal, now we install ESX, VMware's hypervisor, on bare metal. The difference here, the T model, this is going to be like a 1000T, 5000T, 9000T. It's literally going to have a T at the end of the name, letting you know it's that traditional deployment methodology. If you want to go down the road of an X, this is a PowerStore X or a 1000X, 5000X, 9000X, right? So very straightforward as far as how you consume this. But when we install PowerStore in an X model deployment, installing VMware's hypervisor directly on the controllers, right? We're going to join vCenter, and these are going to show up as compute nodes. At that point, we now have created the ability to bring in this technology that we call Apps On. Apps On is literally the ability to run PowerStore in an H8 virtual machine instance, giving us this highly scalable, up to nearly a petabyte of effective capacity in 2 rack units, while simultaneously being able to deploy VMware virtual machines side by side on the array. We are seeing huge growth here at small office locations, edge locations, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, anybody that has a remote location or an edge point. We're starting to see upticks in popularity here. Also in the EDU space, the university space, satellite campuses, smaller remote entities for college campuses. These are very popular deployment methodologies for PowerStore X, and within 2 rack units, having virtual machine capabilities, but yet highly scalable, cost-effective storage integration. So that's the 2 deployment methodologies of PowerStore. Then we bring this home with a conversation around what we call anytime upgrade. The ability to consume PowerStore in an operational model where you're always capable of ingesting the latest technology without having to write another check or cut another PO. In this case, we offer 2 flavors of this: anytime upgrade standard and anytime upgrade select. With anytime upgrade standard, in this case, you've got a 3000. As soon as we come out with the 2nd generation of the 3000, you're entitled to the upgrade. You don't have to cut another check. You don't have to wait years. You don't have to renew your maintenance. We owe it to you. You get it, right? So this is an investment protection beyond investment protection, because as soon as the new thing is available, you get it. No wait period. Really cool concept. Not only that, we have anytime upgrade select. Anytime upgrade select is a premium version of this where, hey, you've got a 3000 today, but we're going to give you the ability to go 1 model higher from where you are. If you've got a 1, you go to a 3. If you got a 3, you go to a 5. You got a 7, you go to a 9. Right? So there's that capability of going full-blown upgrade as part of this solution as well. Not to mention that we can cluster. Because we can cluster, there's an OR variable here. And that OR variable in this demonstration is, hey, you got a 3000, you like your 3000, keep your 3000, great. But we owe you a controller, so we give you the latest technology, whatever the latest generation is of that model that you have of that 3000. And all you have to do is purchase any necessary storage. We're going to give you the controllers, basically give you the enclosure. You're just going to purchase any necessary capacity or drives that you need. And now you've got 2 of them in a scale out cluster. So you can even leverage the clustering power of PowerStore within the Anytime Upgrade program. And we've also recently launched our 2.0 version of software. This is about 6 months ago. And get this, 18 months of product life, we're breaking records in the industry. We've never had a platform grow this fast. We are breaking records in revenue. We are breaking records in capacity. We're in 18 months of product life, we have over 1.5 exabytes of effective capacity deployed for PowerStore globally, 90 plus countries, right? This is a huge adoption. And PowerStore 2.0 just made things even faster in adoption, but also faster in performance. It's kind of like an Oprah Winfrey commercial where everybody gets a car. Well, but here everybody gets performance. Like all you do is the software update. You do the software upgrade, you automatically, everybody gets more performance. And there's more of that to come. We're going to continue to see performance enhances just by software updates in PowerStore. Not to mention this new low-cost option of the 500 series. You know, we had people saying, Jody, this thing's great, but I need something lower cost than the 1000. Okay, now I'm giving you a 500, right? So it gets even better with all of these capabilities. We've got the NVMe end-to-end architecture. We've got the unified capabilities. We've got this clustering capabilities, the scale-out capabilities. You can mix the 500 in with bigger models, right? All of this is inclusive in PowerStore. This thing is crazy flexible. It is wicked smart, and it's highly adaptable and can meet many different use cases in your ecosystem, all while being just crazy, stupid, simple to use, right? So, hey, Hawk, any questions for me from anybody? More than happy to take them.
Yeah, no, I didn't see any in the chat, but if you want to come off mute, if you have any questions for Jody, please feel free to let us know or type in the chat.
Any questions at all? Anybody throw anything out there?
Anything.
Hey, Hawk, the price point, is that US dollars or Canadian dollars?
The 26K for the 500 that you just saw, or 28K, whatever that was, that's US dollars. Any other questions?
But Jody, thank you so much. That was excellent. Thank you again for taking
And
Actually, Jody, one quick question. What is your lead time then on PowerStore right now?
right
Perfect.
now,
I was
great
just gonna
question.
say, I was just gonna answer that. Thank you, Steve. So right now, PowerStore has a lead time of 2 weeks.
Wow.
Buy
Yeah.
now.
2
Buy
weeks.
now.
So 2 weeks. And I was just gonna say that, right now CDW has some crazy promotions that run up to February 1st. Reach out to your CDW account manager, but the lead time on PowerStore specifically is 2 weeks. And with the industry-wide constraints, that is incredible.
Yep.
So, that we'll stick to that too. I actually confirmed it again today because you're blue when you see it.
Could you jump back, Jody, if you don't mind? Could you jump back to the slide? It was I joined 5 minutes late. Apologies for that. But you were on a slide, that showed like all the variations. So it was all common in terms of, what the hardware was, but it changed really in CPU cores.
Yes, 1 second. Let me jump back over.
Or is this a deck that you guys can share with us? Or?
I can, yes, actually, this deck is public. I can share it to you. You wanted to see the one that had the CPU listings?
Correct, yeah.
All right, are you seeing that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's the current configurations. The PowerStore 500 has a little bit faster CPUs, less cores, but it's that's part of where we get the cost-effective nature of the 500 is also half the memory of the 1000 series.
Okay.
And we can make sure that everyone gets a copy of this deck as well. If you want to use it as a reference point.
If you don't want to wait, there's a couple of good resources. There's a Dell virtual rack. Just go into Google it up, Dell virtual rack. You can see physical representations. You can move it around. You can get info. And also on delltechnologies.com, there is a great page on PowerStore with a ton of detailed info. So you can get that right now.
Yeah, I'm going to, so in the chat, I am going to dump a couple of links. This is the spec sheet for PowerStore, and I am going to also dump you to InfoHub, which InfoHub does have for PowerStore, has all of the, if you're looking for config guides, white papers, all of that stuff will be located there. And also you can jump out to YouTube and see all kind of crazy demos and good stuff there as well.
Great, thank you.
No
I
problem.
apologize as well. I was a little bit late joining, so I apologize in advance if this was discussed. So what are the product lines that Dell has in storage these days? Like we went from Equalogic to an SC30 or 3000 series. So where does this lie?
Yeah, so up at the top of the stack, right? This is mission critical tier 0 with PowerMax. PowerStore encapsulates the breadth of the storage industry because we can play in the mission critical tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and even in some cases low cost tier 4 space, right? So this is where you're going to see customers with pre-existing SC compellent, they're going to funnel into PowerStore. Customers that would traditionally use platforms like Unity or legacy VNX are going to funnel into PowerStore. We also have customers currently using Extreme IO in high performance environments that are funneling into PowerStore. So PowerStore is a very flexible, capable platform. And that is our strategic target from an executive strategy perspective at Dell Technologies, that we're funneling all of that into PowerStore with the exclusion of that tier 0 mission critical space that will go to PowerMax.
Okay, so just to be clear, so Compellent and the SC series are basically dead-ended or no more, and PowerStore is where we want to go.
Limited availability moving forward, and all of the development efforts. And in fact, I'm part of the product management and engineering staff inside of corporate. And I can tell you that a lot of the SC engineering team is now part of PowerStore. SC product management staff is now part of PowerStore. It's the same for the mid-range line, the Extreme IO line, Unity line, Extreme IO guys. They've all been now repurposed and dedicated to PowerStore. So yes, that is the future and that is the strategy. If you're a pre-existing SC customer, you're going to start, taking a strong look at PowerStore.
Thank you very much. I guess I'll be looking for PowerStore next year.
Yeah, and we also, by the way, we also have native data mobility capabilities to help you get from SC into PowerStore. So you can actually, PowerStore can discover your SC environment, automatically create any of those block volumes, and then move that data over into PowerStore for you.
Do you have the capability to migrate from Equalogic platform to
We
PowerStore?
do. Yep.
Okay.
Native mobility capabilities today in PowerStore is inclusive of almost our entire portfolio. It includes the legacy PS Equalogic series. It includes the SC Compellent line. It includes VNX. It includes Unity, and it includes Extreme IO. And we have a release coming this next year where we're also going to include VMAX, PowerMax, and some other things in the industry as well. So a lot of capabilities coming, and a lot of capabilities already exist. So yes.
Okay. So, and one last question. I know everybody probably wants to start drinking right now, so self-included. So we still have so we've got an Equalogic and we've got an SC 3020. So can you do replication between the SC 3020 and PowerStore, or?
No native replication between legacy platforms into PowerStore.
just the data mobility from a migration perspective.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Sure.
Just want to sorry, just to jump into, just Ronnie Torre here. I'm the business development manager for Dell at CDW. Just want to reiterate that we do have the experts to help you guide through this too. So CDW is fully certified with technical experts to help you navigate this this roadmap that Dell has. And CDW still can access some of those legacy things while they're available. If they are still available, we'll be able to grab them for you. But what we're seeing historically when customers are coming to us with like a Unity, even a Unity hybrid, and we always make a point to show them what the future looks like in PowerStore, and that pricing is very similar. You're almost doing yourself a disservice if you go with the legacy product. But our technical experts can really guide you through that process, through demos, using all the tools. We have a lab in Mississauga as well that we can actually invite our customers in to review this technology and have like a really in-depth conversation about it while it's in the room. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your account managers and allow us to help you guide through this.
Yeah, and I'll double down on that one. I have had multiple conversations with CDW leadership globally, both in the United States and in Europe and Asia. CDW is well equipped, right, to have these conversations and lead this strategy and help you out. So yeah, hats off and hat tip to the CDW team, because they are really, really good at what they do.
So just a quick question. So just to be clear, so the Compellent SE series is not end of life yet, but we know that the future is PowerStore. Is that correct?
We have made announcements.
We're in this terrible situation in my environment where we've been upgrading and we don't upgrade our data centers at the same time. So I was looking forward to next year getting another SC series so I could do replication across my data centers. But now, because I've got an Equalogic and I've got a Compellent, now the current product seems to be PowerStore. Now I still can't do replication if I buy PowerStore. So would you, in that situation, especially when we don't need, we're not driving our Compellent very hard at all and perfectly happy with it. It's like 2 years old. Would you recommend considering buying a Compellent, like an SC, another one, like an SC3020 or something?
I'll leave that discussion up to Hawk and the sales teams. But I can tell you we've made some announcements around that product already. And if there are some ways that you can make certain things happen, like for example, if you're a VMware shop, we have Recover Point for VMs that can be integrated and create that data mobility between those two platforms. So you could use SC and have data replicating into PowerStore, leveraging our Recover Point for virtual machine technology. But based on what your scenario and use case is, I'll leave that up to the local account teams. And if you need my assistance to jump in and help kind of drive some strategy or capabilities, I'm more than happy to assist.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jody. That was excellent. And remember, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to your CDW account team. We can definitely set up a one-on-one meeting to find out exactly what your challenges are. But Trevor, thank you so much for being patient with us. Really good conversation. And I hope you all found it valuable. But now I'm going to pass it over to our mixology expert, Trevor. Thank you again for being patient.
No problem. I very much enjoyed that. I didn't understand a word Jody was saying, but he sure is like a nice guy.
I'm from Alabama, so I have a hard time understanding what any of y'all are saying anyways.
Alabama's one of my favorite states, Jody.
Hey, roll tide, brother. Roll tide.
Roll tide, man. All right. Well, listen. Hopefully you guys will learn a little bit about this cocktail we're going to be fixing today. Hey, Jody, do you drink cocktails?
Yeah. In fact, I might pause the video and go make my own up real quick.
What do you drink? Do you drink? I don't know if this is a stretch, but do you drink mint juleps, old fashions?
I'm an old fat. In fact, if you
as soon as you're done here, I'll go hem up an old fashioned real quick. I'm a smooth sipping whiskey kind of guy, and I'm a big fan of the old fashioned.
What kind of whiskey do you drink?
Big fan of Buffalo Trace products and Blanton. I like Bullet. I'm a fan of Bullet, not Bullet Rye. I'm not a rye guy. I'm a plain guy. Right?
You're a bourbon guy, right?
Yeah, I like it.
I like Blanton's too. I like the little guy on the little horse. If anybody doesn't know Blanton's, it's a good bottle of bourbon out there. Yeah, you should grab one of those. Those are delicious. I like to make my old fashions. This is a little tip for everybody. Best way to make an old fashioned, Jody, for me, is with a little hint of maple syrup instead of simple syrup or sugar, because the maple marries really well with the oakiness from a good bourbon.
Yeah.
So a little American bourbon with a little Canadian maple syrup, man, you got the Can-Am connection, dude.
Hey, watch me right now. I have Canadian maple syrup in the fridge, and I got some smooth sipping whiskey. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, brother, and I'll be back to toast you in just a moment with that beverage.
You got it. All right, sweet. All right, so this cocktail we're making is delicious. It's actually called a rosemary pear cocktail, but you can call it many things. Typically, when you make a drink with gin and some simple syrup or a syrup of some sort, as well as lemon juice, you would call that a sour. If you threw in there an egg white, it would be quite delicious too. But that's if you served it straight up or neat. Now we're going to be building ours in a glass like this. If you were to make a sour, you would typically make it in a glass like this, or in a martini glass or something like that, something with a stem. But if you're going to be making something with club soda, which is what we're using today, you're going to want a nice tall glass like this to accommodate things like the ice. Now, again, if you were to make this cocktail without the soda and you just had gin, simple syrup, as well as the lemon juice, you would call this, you would call it a sour. If you add a little bit of mint, you would call it a South Side, which is what, what's the gangster's name again? Al Capone used to drink South Sides. If you add, instead of mint, a dash of bitters, it's called a Fitzgerald. And so this cocktail goes way back to the old days of gin sours, but it's built up a little bit with the splash of soda. You could even call this a Tom Collins, and everybody knows Tom Collins, but it's Tom Collins with a hint of pear and rosemary. If you wanted to make your own version of this syrup, it's pretty straightforward. You add a cup of sugar and a cup of water together in a pot. You heat it. You add a couple slices of pear, maybe about half a cup of pear, and then a few sprigs of rosemary. You let it simmer, and then you let it cool. You separate the solids from the liquid, bottle it, stick it in your fridge, and it's good to go. And you can use it for just about any cocktail you want. All right. So you have a pretty decent amount of syrup right here. Try it out in what I told you, a gin sour. You'll love it. And try it in a mojito. It's excellent as well. Anything that requires simple syrup, sub in this stuff, and you're good to go. Now, in addition to your syrup, you're going to want a fresh lemon. Fresh lemon, fresh lime is always the way to go. You never want to use, additives or anything powdery. Like I've actually got examples of powder here that I found in my parents' bar. Look at that. Party time at mom and dad's house. This is some gimlet powder they got from Kmart. Look at that. If you can look close, Kmart. It was 84 cents a box. 2 for $1, my friends. Yes, indeed. So nowadays, it's unacceptable to use that stuff. You want to use the freshest product possible, and you will see the difference in the taste. All right. Then, in addition to that, you want a good quality gin. We got Bombay Sapphire. I've had a long history working with tons of gins, but the first one I was introduced to was Bombay Sapphire, and so I know a whole lot about it. If you take a peek on the side of your bottle, I'm using the big boy bottle, but if you have a smaller bottle like this, you'll see on the sides etching. The etchings all have the markings of the botanicals in there. So if you want a very crude breakdown of what gin is, it's basically a neutral grain spirit like vodka, and they add in this particular case, 10 different botanicals. Those botanicals range from lemon peel to cassia bark, which is cinnamon, star anise. Those are all kind of neat elements, and I like to use those elements as garnishes at times. So if I have some cinnamon sticks, I'll throw a cinnamon stick in there. If I have some, there's also coriander. If I have a few leaves of cilantro, I'll dash those in there. It's very beautiful. But to give you a little quick history, which I never seem to be able to do. I'm never short with my conversations or my answers. But the term gin comes from Geneva. All right. So Geneva is what was distilled by the Dutch. So the Dutch fought alongside the British. The British loved doing shots of Geneva before going into battle. They called it Dutch courage at the time. And so when they went back to England, they brought, yes, indeed, Jody. Hold on a second. Jody, what? I can't let you toast to yourself. Here you go. Little gin never killed anybody. Some gin.
No, it looks like you got a good Bombay Sapphire going there.
A good Southern gent and a good old Northern gent. Cheers, Jody.
Yeah. Cheers to you.
Icy cold, my friend. It's because I'm in my garage. so as I was saying, Geneva was actually Dutch, and it's Dutch for juniper, which is the key ingredient in any good, wholesome gin. So they took the term Geneva, shortened it to gin, and that's what the British started calling it back home. And if you take a look at your bottle, this is a Bombay Sapphire London Dry Gin, and that's a style of gin that became quite prevalent over the years, even up to now. If you take a look at the top 5 gins in your liquor store, they're usually London Dry Gin. Although Old Tom is another style, there's about 4 or 5 different styles of gin. Plymouth Gin is another style of gin. It's really kind of varying, and so people take a lot of liberties with London Dry Gin, and you'll find that there are tons of them now. You know, maybe 10 years ago, everything was vodka, but then gin emerged because, you know, vodka is such a neutral flavor that a lot of distilleries found they could truly, you know, have a point of difference by mixing up the botanicals. And so that's why you're seeing a lot more competition for companies like Bombay Sapphire. This is a very drinkable and mixable gin, but you could try this recipe with any gin of your choice. All right. And then I guess your ingredient list is done. Your tools, you're going to need a knife, a cutting board, some heist, which could be an ingredient or a tool, just depends on your perspective, and of course something to measure. If you don't have one of these handy dandy little guys, this is a jigger, all right, and this is what you could supplement it with. A little baking measurement for your, you know, if it's 60 mLs, that's equivalent to about 2 ounces. Jody, my friend, do you know the story of where the cocktail got its name, my friend?
No, down where I'm from, it might have something to do with a rooster, brother, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, there are a number of stories, Jody, and when guys like you and I get together, we happen to tell a lot of tales, and if you've had a few drinks, they get more and more murky and more muddled, just like a cocktail. But if you take a look at this one, Jody and friends, that's called a bell jigger, all right? If you ever went to, let's say, the South, especially New Orleans, Louisiana, and you had a cocktail back about 215 years ago, they would typically use one of these to serve your beverage. All right. Now, it was called a coquetier. A coquetier in French is an egg cup. So after Jody and I went to the bar and we had a couple of our old fashions, we'd say, yeah, bartender, can I get another one of those cocktail? They the coquetier bastardized it into the term cocktail. And that's where you get one of the stories from. Now, if you drank an old fashioned back in the day, Jody, and everybody listening, you go to a bar at the end of the night, right? After you finish scaring people with all your cyber facts. And then you go to the bartender, and these barrels would be lined up across the back, all right? And so at the end of the day, there will be a little bit left in the barrels. You say, bartender, can you make me a cocktail in the old fashioned way? And the old fashioned got its name from that. They would pour the residual spirits from each barrel, called the tailings, from the barrel. And this little spout here was actually called a cock. All right. They would pour the cock tailings into your glass, mix it around with some sugar and water. And that was how the old fashioned cocktail got its name. All right. Like I said, I could be making all of this stuff up. Check your Google and your local World Book Encyclopedia. Fact check me if you want, but as I said, you could have 4 or 5 different stories you'll come across. There's tons of them. Now, getting back to the start of the show, which is our cocktail du jour, rosemary pear cocktail. You're going to grab your, let's call it a mixing glass, your cocktail glass. You are going to add a big boy 2 ounces of your delicious Bombay Sapphire gin. All right. Now you can eyeball it, or if you want to be like a real bartender, you can measure it perfectly to the meniscus. You ever heard anybody use that? Jody, you keep disappearing on me. Handsome.
Oh, I can hang around, brother.
I just like the company because I can't see anybody other than letters, giant Helvetica letters on my screen. All right, 2 ounces. So the 2 ounces is a pretty good amount, right? You don't want to go above that. I typically have a rule of thumb. You don't want your gin, vodka, or even your whiskey to dominate or disappear in your cocktail. You want a nice balance. You know what I mean, Jody?
Yep.
So after that, you're going to add a ½ ounce of your pear syrup. This is a pear rosemary syrup that you're going to add a ½ ounce of. Now, what's important to know here, Jody, is that if you add ½ ounce of syrup, you want to add ½ ounce of your lemon juice or your lime juice. You want a balance of both, like equal parts. That's a good place to go from. Hey, there we go. Hawk, you're back. Hawk, you're on mute. I feel like one of those teachers. Hawk, what are you drinking? Is that straight whiskey? No, that's vodka.
Is that too much? I'm just
No,
wondering.
yeah. Well, depends on who you're asking right now. You look like you got a pint of gin in that glass.
Yeah, I'm going to hockey, so I'm just getting ready for it.
Well, that seems about normal for hockey, right?
Yeah.
That's Dutch courage right there.
That's Dutch courage. Yes, indeed. Are there any famous Dutch hockey players that you know of?
Can't think of
Skaters.
one.
They're
I know
all
some.
they're all like long distance skaters. They're famous for it.
Interesting. My other question then is, any famous players from Alabama?
Ooh, good
Not
call.
hockey players.
Who's the most famous person out of Alabama, would you say?
Oh, Bear Bryant,
Ah, yeah, of course.
the coach, famous coach. I got yeah, you don't want to derail me with some football talk, man. Alabama's teed up to go to the Natty again, my friend. So we got one more game that we gotta win, and then we go from there.
Alabama's in it every year. Every year. It's ridiculous. Here we go. ½ ounce of your lemon juice.
Yeah.
Right? I'm using what's called, well, you can call this a citrus press. If you ever go down to Mexico, they call this a Mexican elbow. All right? Because it's got that bend, just like your elbow. They use that to squeeze their margarita lime juice.
Hey, Trevor.
Yeah.
Can you go back to your Mexican elbow there, and can you demonstrate the proper way to press the fruit? Because I have heard, that like I've seen some people that they put fruit side like up and then others fruit side down, and there's a proper way I've been told to do it.
Listen, Jody, I'm so happy that you're here to tell everybody this or ask this question. Look, it's science. All right. Now, you see the holes down there, right? It only makes sense to have the juicy side facing the holes so that it has a quicker exit strategy, right?
Ah.
If you put the skin in the holes, it blocks the exit. So the proper way, people think it's like Tetris or it's like a puzzle where the pieces are supposed to fit together like this, but you're actually putting the face down in there so that it can squeeze the juices right into your glass, which I
And
love.
the only reason I know that is because somebody said, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" I was doing it wrong.
Wait a minute, somebody was watching you make cocktails?
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, once you have your sweet, your sour, and your liquor in there, or your spirit, as the classy ones say, you can add your ice. Now, your ice is integral. Your ice will give you a little bit of dilution so that the simple syrup or the rosemary pear syrup becomes somewhat of a, get in there, you, gets a little bit of that dilution to create a lemon juice or a lemonade, all right? So this is pretty much a lemonade with a splash of gin in it, all right? Don't be chintzy, especially if you're living where you are, Jody, because these beverages are meant to cool you down in the warmer temperatures, which actually in Ontario, it's not too bad these days.
No,
so, it's been pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so then you're going to top it up with a little bit of the club soda. A little trick. You guys want to see something kind of not that exciting, but exciting enough. If you want to impress people and make them think you know what you're doing, you can take what's called a bar spoon. I have a long-handled bar spoon like this, and I will put it on the top of the bottle. See, like this? See that there, Jody?
That's it.
Turn it sideways like so. And you can pour it right down the shaft.
Oh, wow.
That's fancy like.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Trevor, you're a little bougie, man. I got you.
I'm bougie. I love it. Hey, listen. Next time I'm in your parts, man, we're gonna go have a couple of old fashions.
Yeah, brother, call me up.
So look it. You take your bar spoon, or if you have a straw or a chopstick, you want to make sure that your ingredients are evenly divided. All right. So you want all the stuff that you poured first to be mixed up with the stuff that you poured last. Because if you're drinking this with the straw, first thing you're going to taste is gin. If you drink it without a straw, the first thing you're going to taste is club soda. So you want it to be well balanced, as I mentioned before. All right. Give that a little stir like so. Next up, you mentioned bougie. So listen, in the old days, I would just take my spent lemon shell like this, and I would just float it on top. All right. But nowadays, bartenders are getting smart because a lot of those lemons would just get, expired or would just go in the garbage, and it was a waste. Because I don't know about you, but citrus has gone through the roof in terms of the price, right? And so now they're starting to dehydrate them. So everybody's got these cool dehydrated lemon slices, and they actually rehydrate when they're put back into the glass. So I like to put 2 or 3 of them in there. It's very decorative, but also practical at the same time. And you can just squish them on down to the bottom like this.
Does it lose its potency, or is that more for cosmetic?
Cosmetics.
Like to look cool?
Totally cosmetic. Because some people have tried to use the juice from these dehydrated lemons as a substitute to their actual, citrus. Holy smokes, we got a joiner, Chris. Chris, look at this. You were talking about bougie. Look at this guy's bar. You see that? Look at that. Nice job, Chris. So,
I've
Hey,
been
Hawk,
here all
it's
along.
not cosmetics, dude. It's presentation.
Yeah, well, this proper
That's
terminology.
why I always need the engineer on the call, right? We've got to straighten you guys out.
So listen, we got a special Southern gent on the call, and so I want to default to you, Jody, for a special toast. You got any special toasts?
Oh, well, brother. Man, always keep it to your backside and move forward, my friend.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Ooh, that's good. That's delicious. That is very good indeed. Oh, Cassandra, cheers to you as well. I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat. I don't even know if there's anything going on there, but if there is a question that someone has with regards to cocktails or whatever the heck it was that Jody was talking about.
I mentioned it tastes. This cocktail actually tastes a little better to me without the club soda.
Oh, really? Well, it's interesting that you say that because I mentioned before that's basically a gin sour.
It's a sour, yeah. I like it more like a sour like that.
Yeah, it's delicious. And you know what? This is a pretty good non-alcoholic option too. There's a lot of stuff out there, these non-alcoholic options like Sobri and Seedlip, where it's called a distilled spirit, but there's no alcohol in it, believe it or not. You seen this, Jody?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of offerings for folks who just still want to make cocktails, but they don't want the alcohol. And this is even if you don't have those, this makes a really great, almost like what do they call them? Those soda jerk shots. They used to call them lime rickies and stuff like that. This is pretty comparable when you remove the gin itself. So it's very easy drinking. I'll tell you, this one will sneak up on you. My good buddy John Cruz would tell you this will sneak up on you because after you've had 2 or 3 and you're sitting on your bar stool, you get up and you basically do a face plant because you didn't realize there was 2 ounces each of them, right? So you got to be careful. And as my parents would say, it tastes Moorish, or it tastes like more, I believe they say in the South.
Mm-hmm. Tastes like another.
Tastes like another, my friends. So, without further delay, I pass it on to, I don't know, Hawk, Jody, whichever one of you guys wants to take over and chit chat. But it's been an absolute pleasure. And listen, guys, thanks for keeping me company. It makes it that much more fun to have a drinking partner and someone to craft these drinks with. I can see
Hey,
your
Trevor, absolute pleasure, man. Enjoyed it. And if you make it down to the deep south, you know, give a brother a holler, man. We'll do something.
You got it. You got it, man.
Well, awesome. I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you very
You're
much. Had a
Thanks,
lot of
Trevor.
fun. I hope everyone learned something today. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free. Reach out to your CDW account manager or me directly or your BDM, Ronnie. We'd be happy to assist you. But other than that, have yourself a fantastic night and thanks for joining.
All right, take care.